Oh, we're already recording? Alright.
Yeah.
This is Hanging with a Homie, and we're just going to do,
Best and worst school memories?
yeah, best and worst school memories.
So what do you want to start with first? Good or bad?
I
My
don't
bad. I have more bad stories than I do good.
know. He has more bad stories. For me, it was more funny, weird stories, I guess. Like, yeah, more funny. I don't know. Do you just one of us do it one?
Yeah, we'll
go
do
back
one.
and forth?
Yeah, we'll get back and forth.
Alright. Do you want to go first? Or you want me to?
No, you can.
Alright, well, how to say this? Oh, like my niece, okay. My niece just went to middle school. And, she said she cried whenever she left elementary school. And I told her, I was like, okay, you're gonna go into the middle school there. And I hated this middle school, because that middle school was horrible. I was like, I'll tell you one thing. I cried when I left elementary school. I cheered when I left middle school. That middle school was horrible. I hated that
I don't know.
place.
I never went to that middle school. I was in a
Reform school.
I guess that's what you call it.
Yeah.
I went in there in 5th grade and didn't come out till 9th.
Yeah. He was in a reform school.
But it was pretty bad because I went into that school, and that school was horrible. But I would rather have been in that school than in high school. Because our high school sucked.
I actually liked high school, aside from one person. One teacher.
Which was my fault.
That was all his fault.
But let's get back to the middle school. I spent more time, like, it was 6th grade. Because you had to work up levels and shit to get out. It's all fucked up. School ain't around anymore.
Okay. Wait, they coached. Okay, anyway.
I didn't do nothing to it.
Yeah, sure you did. You're gone.
But I got into a lot of fights.
Okay.
And most of them, like, I started all of them because everyone else in school was a bunch of pussies. Nobody would throw the first punch. Because everyone's like, oh, I gotta defend myself. It's like, you're a pussy. Throw the first punch. Like, come on. You're gonna stand there and insult me, but you're not gonna throw the first punch? So we were out at recess or something. I don't know, it might not have been recess. It might have been like a drill or fire drill or something. But we were standing on the basketball court. And these kids did not like me because I stood up to them and didn't take any of their crap.
Okay.
So I'm going and I'm talking to someone, and this kid just starts running towards me. And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. He runs, he spears me. My head comes within like 3 centimeters or 3, it wasn't very much from the concrete. Like, knocked the wind out of me. That was one of them. We both got suspended for that. Then I was in this shop class, I think. I don't actually know what this class was. But I was in this class, and this kid, I was sitting in the front, and this kid kept throwing shit at me. And I was really getting annoyed, because he was like throwing pencils, pens, rocks. He just kept throwing everything at me. And I turned around, and this motherfucker was big. He looked like a damn gorilla. Like, his arms were so fucking long. He looked like a damn orangutan. And he wasn't a very good kid anyway. You could tell just from looking at him. He's probably a drug addict. But he kept doing all this. And I turned around and I was like, I've had it. My one friend was like, no, you can't. Like, he'll kick the shit out of you. And I just looked at him and was like, I don't care. Like, I've had my ass kicked before. I think I've only won like one fight. But I've stood up for myself. So I get up, turn around, punch him as hard as I can in the chest. This motherfucker just looks down, goes, and then jumps over the desk and starts beating the shit out of me. And then, because we had these reform officers or something, I guess it was security.
Yeah.
They were coming in and they were pulling us out. They pulled me out. And then the one guy went back in, and I'll never forget this. That kid punched him. He went flying out the door. The security guy went flying out the door. And I'm just sitting there, I'm laughing my ass off. I think it's the funniest thing in the world. And then of course you go to the office and like, oh well, blah 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 blah. You forensic, sure, whatever. Fuck you. Good times though.
Yeah.
But that's pretty bad. I'd rather be in that school than our high school.
Yeah, I mean, the only fight, I can't really say I was like really in a fight. I was never like really in fights. I did have one in middle school where someone punched me in the face and I punched him in the face. And that was it, because the teacher yelled at us and we just kind of like split up and that was it. And there was, the one time I got a concussion. And I actually went through the rest of my school day with that concussion.
I remember that.
Yeah, I got...
Because you came home and I was already home.
Yeah.
You came home and you're like, oh, my head's killing me.
Yeah, because, they had I had a lunchbox. And it had that plastic tub liner inside of it. Real hard in there. And it was after lunch. I only had one class after it, I think. After that class. And it was after gym, and these two guys were throwing my lunchbox, and I was just like, dude, give it back. And the one guy was like, sure. And so he handed it over to me, and I grabbed the strap. And then he took the thing and pushed it right into my head, and I fell back in the bleachers, whacked back my head on the bleachers. And then I got up, and I was just like, what the fuck? And I could not see shit. I actually had to wait for my one friend to come out of the thing, and I was just like, dude. And he was real short, mind you.
Dude, I need help.
I was like, you are my seeing eye midget for the rest of the fucking day. And I literally hung on to the back of his backpack and like this.
And they wouldn't let you go home.
They didn't let me go home. They were just like, that's your problem. That's why I hate that middle school. But anyways, going to the high school, he hates. And I actually didn't mind it. Like I said, I had one teacher.
Because of me.
Because of him. Mr. Dumars. I don't know. You might have heard us talk about him before.
I think I did a video on him before.
It's very likely at this point. He just...
For some reason, he did not like me.
Those two hated each other. And
Still do.
I had one class with him and it was fine. And then 2 years later, I had another class with him and...
Well, let me say how it all started before you get into that.
Okay.
So, this motherfucker was a sexist. Like, plain and simple. He would be dropping papers to look up girls' skirts and look down their shirts. And I think one time he even said he had a bad back and he was laying on the floor. But he went and he did not like me because I stood up to him. He was saying, okay, you have to do all this. And I was like, I had an F anyway. I was like, is there any way I can pass? If I do all the damn work, get an A on everything, can I pass? He's like, no. Why the hell do it then? I was like, well, fuck you then. I'll just go home. Or I'll just go to the office. It's the last class anyway. It got so bad, I would go, because we had lunch and then we had that class. I would go to lunch and walk, because we had to walk right by the office. I'd go right in the office, and they'd be like, you have to go back to class. I was like, what for? I'm going to be back down here in like 3 minutes. Like, it doesn't matter, you have to go. I was like, okay, I'll see you in a couple minutes. Sure enough, here I came with a referral.
He'd go into the class, just flip them off, and walk back down to the office with a referral.
And the fucking teacher was even like, no, I have to have someone else take the referral for you. I was like, I'm not going to run away, and I'm going right to the office. Why send another kid there? Like, just give it to me. I'll hand it to him. Now on to the fun part. And he did not like me at all.
He hated him, right?
Still does, probably.
So, literally all I did was...
He liked you at first.
He liked me, like I said, one class. He liked me. 2 years later, I had his class again. And I was talking to him about it. And he was like, oh, see if he remembers me. And I was just like, I doubt he remembers you. It's been like 3 years. And he's just like, just see. I'll walk into class. I'm like, Mr. Dumars. He's like, yeah. I was like,
do you remember him?
I was like, my neighbor wants to know if you remember him. And he's like, who? And I told him, and he's just like, he leans back in his chair and he's like, yeah, what about it? And I was just like, well, he's my neighbor. He just wanted to know if you remember. He's like, yeah, I remember him.
Tell
very
him I said
clearly.
Hi. I said that.
Yeah, and he was just like, he said hi. And he's just like, oh, I remember him very clearly. I barely passed that class at that. I had an A before that. I went to a solid 62% D, very
So,
low D.
I fuck everything up as always, but he was an asshole.
Just because he knew him. Just because I knew him.
Didn't even say we were friends or best friends or not.
I just said he was my neighbor. That's all I told him.
Just acquaintances.
That's all I told him.
Imagine if you would have said we were like best friends.
I would have fucking failed. Oh my god.
Well, he was like that. Like, the guys would have to do all the work, and they barely passed. The girls didn't have to do shit, and they
Yeah.
passed with A's.
Of course, if you're a football player, because he was a football coach as well. If you were on the football team, you didn't have to do anything.
No. That's the only, if you were on a sports team or a female, you were passing. Other than that, you were failing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no matter how many times you complained about it, they always like, oh, he ain't like that.
No,
It's
I mean,
like, motherfuckers, do you need me to record this?
they wanted me to play the football team, but I never did, so that was the reason I nearly fucking failed. And I was doing great. I was doing great before that because they wanted me to join the football team.
Looking back, you probably should have.
Right? But I didn't. So, but yeah. And then okay, I wanted to tell them about. There was a vice principal there at that high school that did not like me at all. He was like Dumars to you, right? Okay, they called me to the office one time.
The
I'm
principal
sitting in
didn't like
class.
me either.
I was in class, just sitting there, and all of a sudden I get called to the office. And I go down, and they said, bring your stuff. I'm like, okay. So I grab all my stuff, go down to the office. I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, what's going on? And they're like, what do you mean, what's going on? What's going on? I was like, what's going on? Why'd they call me to the office? And they were just like, oh, I don't know. Come over here. So I'm like, okay. I sit over this other side here, and it's back around this corner here. And then they go, here, fill out this referral. Fill out this paper, reflection sheet. And I was like, reflection sheet for what? I was like, I was just in class. And they said, you're not going to do the reflection sheet? And I was like, I didn't do anything. So they're like, all right, well, we'll tell the vice principal this. And I take the paper, and I was just like, okay. So I go back to the vice principal. And the vice principal, they pull me back to the vice principal, and he's sitting at his desk, and he's like, you're not going to fill out the referral? And I was just like, but I didn't do anything. And he goes, and he starts filling out this paper, and he signs it, and he's like, I need you to sign this saying you're going to be suspended for 2 days for refusing to,
Yeah, that does sound like Dumars.
so refusing to follow directions. I was like, but I didn't do anything that I needed to fill this out for. And then about that time, while I'm arguing with him, when he's like saying, if you don't fill this out, I'm going to make it a week. Well, about that time, the woman busts through the door, and she goes, oh, that goes through the attendance stuff. She busts through the door, and she goes, wait. His dad's just here to pick him up. They sent him to the wrong part of the office. I was like, wait, what?
So wait, you were going to get suspended just because you were getting picked up?
Yeah, I was going to get suspended for 2 days to a week because I was going to be picked up.
For probably a doctor's appointment.
It was because, what the hell was, something happened to my mom or something that day.
But anyway, because you were going to get picked up, leave
Yeah.
early, they were going to suspend you for a week.
Yeah. That vice principal hated me. He despised me with a passion. Okay, so then later that year, it was right before Christmas. I told my mom, I was like, my mom and dad were doing this cleaning thing, and they found this old Santa outfit. And I was just like, I want to wear that before Christmas to school, the last day before Christmas. And they were like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah.
Well, I wanted to wear a dress the last day of school. Nobody would let me though.
Okay. So this is like 2-3 months later, right?
Is this still in middle school?
No, this is high school.
Oh.
This was 9th grade. Or no, this was this? Because I know the me getting nearly suspended was 9th grade. I think the first time we wore the Santa outfit was 10th grade. Anyways, that vice principal was there the entire time I was there, mind you. Okay, I went to school. My mom was like, sure, fine, whatever. So I went to school completely dressed as Santa Claus. Nothing underneath, because that thing was fucking hot. All right.
Man, I wish I remembered this.
You weren't in school at the time.
I know, but I still wish I would have remembered this.
But
You probably showed me all this.
I went to school, and I went through my first 2 classes just fine. And then
Nobody said anything about Santa Claus sitting in class.
nobody said a thing. I mean, I had first two teachers laughed at it. Well, then I went to go to
Well, it was
lunch.
around the holidays.
And I went to go to lunch. It was the last day before. Where did my dog go? Oh, there she is.
Right there.
The last, it was going to lunch, and the vice principal that did not like me was there. And he sent me to the office and said I couldn't be wearing that to school. He's like, because my face is unrecognizable. When I pulled down the beard, I'm like, the beard and hat come off. I take them off during class. I'm trying to explain this to him, and he's just like,
I just wear this through the hallways.
He goes, no. He's like, you can't. He's like, it's because religious problems with other religions. You know, you can't do that. He's like, so we're gonna. He's like, can you change into something else? And I was just like, I don't have anything else underneath. And he's like, you don't have anything else. He's like, did you bring a set of change of clothes? I was like, no. And he's like, well. He's like, either one of your parents are going to have to come get you, or
bring clothes.
Or you're going to be suspended. I'm just like, again for this bullshit suspension shit.
For being Santa Claus.
So they call my mom at work, and she goes, "What?"
He's just trying to spread some holiday cheer.
He's just dressed up as Santa Claus. And he said, "Well, if you don't come get him, we're going to suspend him." I was like, "Fine, give me 5 minutes." She worked on the other end of town. She comes down to the other end, picks me up, and then doesn't take me home. No, she takes me to her work and makes me stand outside, dressed as Santa Claus. Dressed as Santa Claus, and wave at people.
Better than school.
For literally straight until about 3 p.m. From like 11 a.m. I was outside dressed as Santa Claus. Mind you, this thing was freaking thick. And so I was outside. I was sweating in the snow. I'm telling you, that thing was hot.
That's amazing.
And I freaking terrified. I scarred a kid because I pulled the beard down because I was so hot. I was sweating, and I pulled the beard down and wiped my face off. And a little kid seen me, and she was like 3 years old, and she started crying. So I terrified her, thinking that Santa Claus's beard comes off.
Well, it does if you have a razor.
No. But, then, okay, I went back to school, whenever vacations ended, right? And this is the best part, was I was telling my other two teachers that I didn't get to go to. And they were like, what do you mean they didn't let you? And I was like, well, yeah, they didn't let me. And both of them said, you should come see, both were like, you come see me next year. I'm like, I will sign a paper saying you can wear that. So I had literally, when I went to the school the next year, I had like 5 teachers.
So you could be
including the assistant principal, not the vice principal, the assistant principal who loved everyone. He was fucking cool as shit. Actually signed a paper saying I could be dressed as Santa Claus as long as I brought in like miniature candy canes to give everybody.
Damn!
So and those teachers actually helped me buy the candy canes. And I actually also bought me a red sack. So I had a big red sack
full of candy
canes, and I handed out in the hallways. Yeah.
That was amazing.
And the assistant principal that signed the paper actually came and sat on my lap at lunchtime. I am not shitting you. That assistant principal was awesome as hell. And I did it in 11th grade and 12th grade. Both of those.
You should have got credit for it.
It was fucking awesome. And I got away with it because them teachers signed that paper. Were like, yeah, fucking mind it. Like, it's just freedom of religion. It's freedom of speech. Like,
you ain't hurt nothing.
Yeah, they're like, as long as you take off your hat and beard during class, it doesn't matter.
You can walk through the hallways dressed as Santa. If anyone asks who you are, you just gotta take them off.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Maybe just like with Halloween showing up dressed as something.
Yeah, so they were like, yeah, so I got to do it for 2 years in a row. I did it completely through the entire day, handing out candy canes in the hallways with big red sacks.
Damn.
Yep.
Well, and I had one good memory, and that's only because I had a girlfriend at the time.
Okay.
That's the only reason why I went to school that year.
Okay.
And then I left that school, and she was still there.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
I can't find her now though. I've been looking.
You didn't gotta tell the memory.
Oh. I showed up one day and we already exchanged numbers or whatever, and she was like, if you don't show up, I'm not showing up. I was like, she was the only reason why I went, was to see her.
Okay.
I went, I told everyone else off. I was like, I don't fucking care, I'm only here to see her. I don't care about anything else. I'm not passing anyway.
Yeah.
But the weird thing was, I never did get to hang out with her outside of school. Damn, I wish I could find her. What do I remember?
That was the reform school, my attention.
Anyway.
Middle school.
I think that's it for this one.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, that was a long ass video too. Solid 20 minutes probably.
I don't know, let's find out. Yeah, about 21.
Oh my god.
Let it go to 21.
See you later.